Morning. I'm the Public Affairs Chief for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Pittsburgh District. I'd like to welcome you all to our public information session for the shallow land disposal area. I will be facilitating tonight's meeting. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to update you on the activities that you have been seeing and that are going to start at the SLDA site. Before we start, I have a few administration announcements. Tonight's meeting, as always, if you've been to any other, you know that they are always recorded. Additionally, there are some QR codes that are around, including the one that was up here before, and the ones that you see over here, over to the side. Those QR codes will allow you to sign in. Like I said, when you came in, you saw the sign-in boards, sign-in tables. There are 2 tables set up today. If you were here before, some of you all commented that the lines were long, so we listened to your comments. And we did 2 tonight. So if you had been here before, we asked you to sign in at this one. The purpose for having you sign in is some of you all might have gotten a phone call from me, or at least you heard my voice inviting you to come. If you did not get that, I am in the process of updating what we call a reverse 911 call. I know that sounds scary, but really all that is it's a call that we make inviting you to come to this public meeting. We use the information that you provide us with your name, your phone number, your email address, so that we can update you and let you know when these public meetings are going to happen. And hopefully in the future, we will be using that same system to let you know when something is major that's going to be happening at the site. So we're going to be using that for outreach as well. So like if there's going to be, say, an increase of trucks that you're going to be seeing coming through your community that are maybe bringing, say, rocks or something in the near future, you'll get a phone call that say, hey, next week you may see an increase of trucks coming through your neighborhood and this is what it's for. So that's what that's for. So this afternoon, you've also seen a couple other things that are different. Tonight, we will not have your traditional question and answer session that we have at the end. The same as what we did when you walked through the door, we had this poster session where we gave you all the opportunity to come through, go to the posters, and speak to the subject matter experts and ask your questions to the subject matter experts. That would be what we're going to do at the end as well. So we will not have the regular make you all stand up and ask questions. We're going to give you the opportunity to go back to those posters and continue to ask any other questions that you may have. At this point, I would like the senior leaders and our senior subject matter experts to stand and introduce themselves, starting with Colonel Moline.
Hi, everybody. Colonel Nick Moline, the commander of the Pittsburgh District of the Corps of Engineers. So we're here tonight as part of a drumbeat. We want to be communicating with you and giving you the latest updates on the SLDA project as we continue to progress through it. So we met last September. We had an opportunity to talk to you at that time. We're meeting with you today, and we'll continue on a 6-month interval to talk to you about the project. Right up front, I want to tell you that we really appreciated the feedback that we received from the last public meeting, and we have some updates for you based upon the questions that you had at the last public meeting. So we'll be talking about that in our presentation. I want to talk to you just quickly about some really important priorities that I have as the commander of the Pittsburgh District. So number 1 priority in my mind is safety. That's the safety of the individuals who are out working on the site and the safety of the community, of you, to ensure that we conduct this remediation at the correct pace to keep the population safe. And I think that we're taking good steps to accomplish just that. The second priority I have is transparency. I want to make sure that as we know things, we're sharing them with you, and that you have many avenues to be able to get information about what's going on, and that you have good avenues to have your questions answered, because every question is valid, and we owe you those answers. So it's very important to us, whether it's through the public meeting, whether it's through the websites, whether it's through our social media coverage, for you to be as updated as we can possibly make you on exactly what is happening on the SLDA project from this point all the way through to the completion of the project, the successful remediation of all materials on the site, and removal of any structures there that are there. So the second priority is safety. I'd say the final priority that I have, that I think about quite a bit with relation to this project, is just ensuring that our relationship and our connection with the people of this community remains strong. We, as members of the federal government, are servants of the local community, and we take that very, very seriously. That's our duty. We are here working on your behalf to address this very pressing remediation project, and our relationship with you and the trust that we're building by communicating and interacting with you is something that, as a commander, I really want to safeguard. It's very important that we continue to earn your trust and to build and safeguard that trust. So those are my three priorities: safety, transparency, and that relationship that we're building through the execution of this project. It's a privilege for me to be able to come here and to be able to talk to you. And I'm going to pass you off Lieutenant Colonel Lyle Milliman. Okay, Mr. Brian Traska, my deputy. I need to be able to read slides.
No problem. Yeah, so as Colonel Moline mentioned, I'm Brian Traska. I'm Colonel Moline's civilian deputy up in Pittsburgh District. And one of my roles is to make sure that we've got the proper staffing here to support this project and support the community, and making sure that we're also coordinating well with the Buffalo District. So at this point, I'll pass it off to Colonel Milliman.
Sir, Brian, thank you. So yeah, you see on the slide here, we got two districts, and they might ask why that we're down here in Pittsburgh, but why is Buffalo involved? And the reason is Buffalo, we are one of the experts as far as nuclear remediation in the Corps of Engineers. We have a team of health physicists and industrial hygienists that do this. We actually are currently working on 8 fuse wrap sites across the Northeast, and we do this day in and day out. We have a very large portfolio, a large portion of our program, and that's why we're down here working with Pittsburgh on this project. And much like what Colonel Moline said, my priorities obviously mirror much of what he said. Safety, definitely paramount. We want to deliver a very deliberate, safety-focused solution to the community here. And how we'll do that is with a team of experts. And you met several of them here tonight. They were at the posters at the start, but a couple of them are listed up here that we're going to also introduce. But we have a very robust team that's very capable. And like I said, we do this day in and day out across the Northeast, and we're going to continue to do it down here in the Pittsburgh area. And then finally, how do we do that? It's through partnership. We're not going to do it all ourselves. So there's a partnership between us and Pittsburgh, obviously as the lead federal agency here on this remediation, but in partnership with the EPA and other agencies within the government, and then also our contractors, and most importantly, the community here that goes ahead and supports us, like allowing us to use this facility tonight with the local fire department. But across the organization here in USACE, we appreciate that not only the input that you've provided thus far, but throughout the future, and we will take that into consideration in how we interact and engage with the community throughout the duration of this project. And with that, I want to introduce my DDE, the Deputy District Engineer, Dave Romano. Dave?
Hey, thank you, sir. And for those I didn't get to meet personally, my name's David Romano, as the commander said, and I won't be repetitive. Our goals are the same as the 2 district commanders. That's safe delivery of the project. But I did want to describe why we bring so many people to this site and why we have the poster sessions like we do. It's to earn your trust, and it's to answer your questions. And if there's feedback that you've given us over the past 6 months, and especially at the last public meeting, has been precious for us. we've gone back to reevaluate a lot of our design, and we've added things that Steve Reeson, our project manager, is going to describe. So to me, that's the beauty of this partnership between the Army Corps of Engineers, all of our state and federal representatives, and you yourselves. So we've got about 90 people on the site. We only brought some of them here today, but they're the best of the best on projects like this. So I really want you to get to know them. And the reason why we're standing up and doing some introductions here is if you can't find the answer you're looking for, you can pull either the commanders or Brian or myself aside, and we'll get you to the right people. So thanks for taking time out of your evening. And next, I'll introduce to David Conboy, Chief of Environmental and Construction.
Hey, thanks. I'm Dave Conboy, the Chief of Engineering and Construction for Buffalo District, and I'm happy to be here like everybody else. Public service is a public trust, and we are here to make sure, as the commanders have said, that we do this work safely, transparently, and in coordination with the local population. Many of the people that you'll see around at the poster sessions are in my organization, and we're really interested in sharing information and hearing your feedback on how we can do better in informing you and getting this project done as safely and as expeditiously as possible. So I'm going to turn it over to my Chief of Construction, Matt Snyder.
Good evening, everybody. Matt Snyder. I'm the Chief of Construction here with the Buffalo District. Have the pleasure of leading a great team that are going to actually be here on site for the Corps of Engineers, helping oversee our partnership with Jacobs, our contractor. And it's so important, they're out here every day, part of your community, part of that trust, and making sure that we deliver on everything that we're promising here. So appreciate that. And next up is Mr. Neil Miller, Chief of our Environmental Division.
Hey, good evening. I'm Neil Miller. I'm the Environmental Branch Chief in the Buffalo District. Just wanted to thank all my technical team members for being here. I hope you all had an opportunity to talk with them at the posters. Personally, I'm going to be back here after the public meeting, and I hope that you take that chance to come talk to us. If I can't give you the answer, I'll make sure I get you in touch with the right person to do so. Thanks.
So good evening, everyone. My name is Steve Reeson. I am the project manager for the SLDA project out of the Buffalo District. And I'm also very happy to be here this evening. To those of you who are here for the first time, welcome. To those of you who have been here before, no matter how many times, welcome back. We're excited to have you here this evening. As you can see on the screen there, our agenda for this evening. I don't think I need to go through each of those, but as you can see, we've got a pretty full agenda for you this evening, and we hope you enjoy that. So before we start the presentation, we would just like to take a moment to recognize the passing of Kiski Valley resident and environmental activist Patty Abino. For those of you who didn't know her, Patty had a tremendously positive impact on the project and was an active participant in pretty much all of our public engagements, just like this one. I got to know Patty personally through my previous work on the project, and just wanted to mention, her contributions to the project, both tangible and intangible, had a major impact on the success of SLDA. All right, so let's take a moment to review the project goals, and these are probably going to sound very familiar from what you've heard from our senior leaders just moments ago. But first, yes, the Corps of Engineers is committed to protecting the health and welfare of our workers, the community, and the environment. Secondly, we will be transparent in our communications about the project within the limits of our information security. And that's what this is all about tonight here, the transparency and communicating with all of you. And then finally, we, the Corps, are committed to keeping you informed and involved throughout the process. So we'd like to take a minute to familiarize you with the program under which the Corps of Engineers is authorized to clean up the SLDA site. Early atomic weapons activities were conducted first by the Manhattan Engineer District and then by the Atomic Energy Commission. The formerly utilized sites remedial action program that we refer to as FUSRAP, you're going to hear that a lot this evening, was initiated in 1974 under the Department of Energy. In 1997, management of FUSRAP was transferred to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. That's what brings us here tonight. The FUSRAP mission is to identify, investigate, and remediate contamination at sites involved in our nation's early atomic weapons program. The FUSRAP authorization limits the Corps of Engineers to removing only radioactive waste and other chemical contamination that's commingled with the radioactive waste at the SLDA site. Any other contamination at the site is a responsibility of the property owner to address. So FUSRAP projects are required to follow the process laid out in the Comprehensive Environmental Response, Compensation, and Liability Act of 1980, commonly abbreviated as CERCLA. This slide shows the CERCLA process and how it progressed here at the SLDA site. The Corps of Engineers completed a series of investigations which culminated in 2007 with the Record of Decision, or what we refer to as a ROD. The ROD specified that the selected remedy to address radiological contamination at SLDA was excavation of contaminated waste and soil, off-site transportation, and disposal at an appropriately permitted and licensed disposal facility. A ROD amendment was signed in 2015 after we stopped our initial remediation in 2011 to make fundamental changes to our plans and procedures based on what we learned from that early work. We awarded a new remediation contract in 2017 to Jacobs Technologies, some of whom are here with us this evening. And then we've been working through the remedial design phase, as shown there on the slide. Right now we're about 90% complete, and we expect to begin remediation, or the remedial action phase, in summer of 2025. I'd like to go over a brief history of the site, because we don't just want to assume that everyone who's here is familiar with it. So real quickly, the SLDA site is 44 acres in size. It's located on River Road in Parks Township. That's approximately 2 miles northwest of where we are here and about 23 miles northeast of Pittsburgh. The site is private property that is owned by BWX Technologies, or BWXT. The Corps of Engineers has a signed site access agreement with BWXT, which enables us to conduct our cleanup project. In 1957, the Nuclear Materials and Equipment Corporation, or n.u.m.e.c, began operating a nuclear fuel production facility in nearby Apollo, Pennsylvania. During the 1960s, n.u.m.e.c disposed of radiologically contaminated waste and debris from the Apollo facility in 10 trenches at the SLDA site, in accordance with Atomic Energy Commission regulations in effect at that time. Those disposal regulations were rescinded in 1981, and the SLDA site was added to the FUSRAP program by congressional legislation in 2002. If you're interested in learning more about the site history, please visit our SLDA site timeline poster over here, and it's got much more detail than what I was able to go over here, quickly. Okay, so probably interested in this. Happy to report there's been a lot of activity at the site since our last meeting here in September of 2023. If you recall, at that time, we were in the process of clearing vegetation along the fence lines, and we had just begun installing that lower administrative trailer complex in that area just adjacent to River Road. Since then, we've advanced the remedial design from 60% complete to 90% complete. We've completed background radiological and geophysical surveys, which we had just begun back in our September meeting, and those have helped improve our knowledge of what's present at the site. We've installed additional site office trailers up in the upper portion of the site, and we've completed grading and placing stone for planned infrastructure. We've also installed a temporary wastewater treatment plant to treat water collected from those site infrastructure areas where we're currently working. The Corps and Jacobs have established routine meetings with our local first responders to keep them aware and informed of site activities, and we've provided them with site-specific trainings on topics such as radiological and beryllium safety. We have also established recurring meetings with the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection and the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. Over the past month, we began installing the trailers for the on-site laboratory and pouring concrete for the new material processing building foundation. Over the next 12 months, we expect to complete pouring those building foundations and install the material processing building, the decontamination facility, the primary wastewater treatment plant, and excavation building number 1 over trenches 4 through 8. And please note that we'll talk about trenches 2, 3, and 9 here later in the presentation. We plan to complete the remedial design and program work plans. We will also begin an operational readiness assessment to evaluate the preparedness of the personnel, procedures, equipment, and facilities for actual operations. One way to think of that operational assessment is a dress rehearsal for remediation. The assessment will include safety and emergency drills, pre-startup inspections, equipment test runs, mock-up demonstrations, verifying the accuracy and completeness of procedures, and verifying that personnel are trained and qualified to perform their roles in accordance with our work plans. Finally, we also plan to complete the site infrastructure installation. Again, if you're interested in learning more about any of that, our planned site infrastructure, you could visit our site layout poster or any of the other posters with related topics after the presentation. So the project timeline, this remains essentially unchanged since our last meeting, which is a good thing. Site infrastructure and preparation activities will continue into early 2025. Waste excavation, transportation, and disposal are expected to begin in summer of 2025. The remediation is expected to take approximately 6 years, but as Colonel Moline mentioned earlier, the ultimate duration will be determined by the rate at which we can safely remove and characterize the waste. So, here's where we're going to get to the part of following up on the feedback that you had given us at the previous meeting. So, we'll get right into it. One of the concerns expressed at our last meeting had to do with waste handling and transportation. We'd like to take some time to better explain our waste management procedures, which are also detailed on some of the posters here behind me. So waste packaging will take place in the waste management building. For those of you who were here at our last time, it was given the affectionate name of the white elephant on the hill. That is the waste management building. Waste materials will be placed into heavy-duty plastic bags, which are known as IP1 containers, and sealed shut, similar to the ones in that upper right photo. If you'd like to get a closer look at one of these bags, please visit our display right here behind me. We have a prototype here you can look at and see directly. The IP1 bags will then be loaded into steel bulk containers that are known as intermodal containers, or n.u.m.e.cs. That's what we commonly refer to them as. Once those bags are loaded in there, the n.u.m.e.cs are sealed shut with a metal cover, as you can see in that lower right photo there on the slide. These n.u.m.e.cs meet all DOT regulations for safely transporting radioactive waste to the disposal facility. Once those n.u.m.e.cs are loaded, they are then loaded onto semi-truck roll-off trailers, similar to the one shown there in the upper left, which are decontaminated, screened, and inspected by qualified USACE personnel before each truck leaves the site. So not one truck leaves that site without us inspecting it to make sure that it's safe to proceed. The n.u.m.e.cs will be transported to a licensed railroad transload facility located in Wampum, Pennsylvania, which is approximately 60 miles northwest of the site. There, the n.u.m.e.cs will be loaded onto rail cars for transport to Energy Solutions' Clive Disposal Facility in Clive, Utah. And the lower left photo there shows what those will look like once they're loaded onto the rail cars. The waste will be deposited and isolated by Energy Solutions in accordance with their disposal facility permit. And again, if you have any more questions, please visit the waste management posters right here behind me if you have any questions after the presentation. The waste transportation routes. So those routes from the site to the transload facility were selected to minimize community impact and to ensure that all applicable waste transport regulations were complied with. We have coordinated these routes with the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, PennDOT, the Southwestern Pennsylvania Commission, and local first responders. An alternate route was established in the event of a closure or congestion on the primary route due to, an accident, a lane closure, construction, whatever. We wanted to be sure that we also have an alternate route for those wastes to be transported on. Emergency procedures for immediate response are already established in the event of an accident or waste spill during transport. During remediation, we anticipate up to 6 waste shipments per week, consisting of 3 trucks making 2 shipments each per day. And then we expect waste shipments to occur 2 days per week. So if you do the math, that's 12 total waste shipments spread over 2 days of each week. And again, for more details related to the transportation routes, please visit the waste management poster at the end of the presentation. At our last meeting, if you were here, you'll remember that figure there. We looked at this was our site 3D model that shows the new infrastructure that's going to be constructed on the site. We received a lot of feedback about our plan not to install a structure or cover over trenches 2, 3, and 9, like we plan to do for the other trenches. We want to assure you, we heard your concerns about the fact that we are placing structures over trenches 1 and 4 through 8, and not over trenches 2, 3, and 9. And we want to explain the reason for that and assure you that the plan is protective of the workers, the community, and the environment. The primary function of the excavation cover over trenches 1 and 4 through 8 is to ensure that workers can continue remediation year-round by protecting them, the equipment, and the excavations from inclement weather. The cover is not intended to be a safety measure, but rather it allows for work to continue through multiple construction seasons without having to shut down during the winter. By keeping the trenches dry, it reduces the amount of water that has to be treated and released, and it provides a consistent work environment for personnel. As a result, we do not need a structure to cover any of the trenches. In fact, all of the trenches can be safely remediated without a cover over them. As I mentioned earlier, we completed a baseline geophysical survey of the entire site, including the trenches, using ground-penetrating radar, electrical sensitivity, and induced polarization. The survey confirmed that based on the volume of material remaining in trenches 2, 3, and 9, those trenches can be remediated in less than 4 months, or rather in 1 construction season. As part of our excavation procedures for all of the trenches, excavated soils and waste will be placed into sealed bags or containers, at the dig phase, right where the actual digging is occurring, and a slow, methodical process of digging only 6 inches of material at a time, which is not very much. Dust will be controlled by applying water or another approved dust suppressant on a regular basis. And we will prevent surface water from entering the trenches by constructing double soil berms around the perimeter of the trenches, especially for those uncovered trenches. Now, following our last public meeting, and in response to your comments, we conducted 2 new human health assessments to determine the risks associated with consuming meat from deer living on the site and the risk presented by deer carrying contamination off-site if it were to enter an open trench during remediation. These assessments concluded that there is an insignificant risk to human health from consuming deer harvested from the site, and an insignificant risk to human health for deer carrying contamination off of the site. However, to enhance the safety of our workers and the public, and to reduce the potential for animals to enter the trenches, we have decided to add fencing with a windscreen around trenches 2, 3, and 9. This fence will add a layer of protection against animals entering the trenches, in addition to the double perimeter fence that already exists around the site. The increase in site activity, particularly during remediation, is also expected to reduce the potential for animals to enter those areas and the site in general. Another update from our last meeting is that we've had to change the order of how the trenches will be remediated. So instead of starting with trenches 2, 3, and 9, we are now going to begin with trench 8, which will be enclosed in excavation building number 1. Remediation of trenches 4 through 7 will then follow until all of the trenches under excavation building 1 are finished. So by doing that, starting remediation of trenches 4 through 8 will provide us with data to demonstrate that the remedial operation is safe and protective of site workers and the community. Once again, for more information about waste excavation or material handling, contamination control, please be sure to visit the posters here after the presentation. Another thing we've done since our last meeting, to foster awareness and involvement of our partner agencies and ensure that you have other opportunities to express your concerns, we have re-engaged with several federal and state agencies who are integral to the success of the project. We have been having recurring meetings with the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the U.S. Department of Energy, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, Region 3, and the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection. Representatives from US EPA Region 3 are with us tonight to answer your questions and to provide information on their previous off-site groundwater investigations. And their table is right over there. So if you missed it earlier, you can go see them right over there. In July of this year, we will hold a coordination meeting with the agencies that signed the site-specific SLDA Memorandum of Understanding to provide them with an update on the project and confirm their commitments to support the project. We will continue to coordinate with our partner agencies throughout the remediation to ensure the project's success. So now I'd like to turn it over to Ashley Pomaski, who is the chief of our environmental engineering section in the Buffalo District, to talk about our site air monitoring program.
All right, can everyone hear me? Awesome. As Steve said, I am Ashley Pomaski. I am the chief of the environmental engineering section for the Corps of Engineers Buffalo District. So another concern that was shared during our last meeting had to do with air monitoring and the program that we have with our plans to keep our community safe. We have designed an air monitoring program to ensure the safety of the community and our workforce based on monitoring certain site-specific conditions. There are 3 separate air monitoring zones or layers that form the foundation of our air monitoring program: personnel, work area, and the perimeter. So the first air monitoring zone is personnel, or breathing zone, which utilizes monitors worn by site workers to measure the air that they breathe. The workers wear a small pump that pulls air through a filter located near their breathing zone. At the end of each workday, the filter is sent to the laboratory to be analyzed for beryllium and respirable dust levels. The second zone are work area monitors, which are mobile and moved based on the site activities to be near the work being performed the day of. These air monitors pull air through a filter, which is also sent to a laboratory and analyzed for radionuclides and beryllium. The work zone monitors also have a real-time meter that measures the amount of dust being generated. This information is used to increase dust suppression methods, or if needed, to temporarily stop work activities. The third and final air monitoring zone is the perimeter air monitors. The perimeter monitors are placed at fixed locations to measure the air quality at the site boundaries. These stations pull air through a filter, which is sent to the laboratory and analyzed for radionuclides and beryllium. The photo on the slide shows one of the perimeter air monitors currently at the site. We also have an on-site weather station that is used to inform project staff of site-specific weather information. Since the initial start of remediation in 2011, there have been 8 on-site perimeter air monitors and 1 off-site background air monitor operating continuously. The air monitors sample particles, dust, to determine if they contain radiological contaminants, and they also measure gamma radiation. Since our last meeting, we have enhanced our perimeter air monitoring program based on your concerns. We have installed an additional perimeter air monitor on the southern site border along Mary Street, which brings the total number of perimeter monitors up to 9. We also added samplers for beryllium at all 9 perimeter monitors and the off-site background air monitor. To date, there have been no exceedances of any occupational exposure limits or perimeter air monitoring action levels or air standards. The Corps of Engineers is also developing a site infographic that will summarize our air monitoring program and present perimeter air monitoring results. This report will be posted to the project website and will be updated as new data becomes available to us to give to you. So this figure shows the location of the 9 on-site perimeter air monitor stations, and the new one is circled in yellow. In addition, we have been holding monthly meetings with PADEP and coordinating with them to resume their joint perimeter air monitoring that they did during the initial remediation. PADEP will install their own perimeter air monitors co-located with ours to produce a second confirmatory set of perimeter air monitoring data to ensure that no contamination is being spread off-site. If you have any questions about our air monitoring program, please stop and see me after the presentation or visit our air monitoring posters. I will now turn us back to Carol, who will talk about public outreach.
Thank you. Next slide. Okay, hello again. So for what we're, as the Colonel said before, we're looking at probably doing these public meetings about once every 6 months, so twice a year. So our next public meeting we're planning to have in the fall of this year. The big thing that I wanted to point out is that we migrated our website since our last public meeting. So if you saved the link for the SLDA website, that link that you saved is no longer working. And the link that you now need to save is the one that is currently showing on this screen. Or you can use this QR code if you know how to use a QR code. If you don't, we'll be happy to show you during the poster session. This QR code will take you directly to the SLDA website, the new one, or it is also, as the Colonel Milliman was just showing you, on the back of the handout that you received on your way in, you can also use that QR code and it will take you to the current SLDA website. On that website, you will find about 63 questions and answers. I know you can't see this one, but if you go to that website, there are approximately 63 questions and answers. Those questions and answers are the commonly asked questions and answers. So there are just a ton of questions that concern this site, and they're being constantly updated. So whenever we get new questions from you all, and when we get an appropriate answer, we put them on this website for you guys to see and review at any time. So the big thing is that your website that you have currently saved is no longer going to work. You're going to need to use the new one, and you can get to that by the QR code. The other thing that I want you guys to understand is that we're doing a lot of outreach. So some of you came to me and said that you saw the posters in the pizza place or on the coffee shop or different places. So we went to Vandergrift, we went to Apollo, we went to Leechburg, and we've been handing out posters and things like that about the public meeting. We have a fact sheet that is at the gate of the site. You're welcome to stop there, pull a fact sheet. We're going to be updating that fact sheet on a regular basis, so that will give you what's happening on the site on a regular basis. That should be updated on a regular basis. I also want to, at this time, introduce you to, I don't see it. Oh, Dawn. Dawn is our new outreach person. Come up this way, please, if you can, Dawn. So Dawn is going to be doing a lot of the work that I've been doing. You guys have, anybody who's been coming on a regular basis, have been seeing me here for years. I've been working with this project since 2012. So you guys, a lot of you have seen me up here talking to you or just checking you in for years. So Dawn is going to be helping me with outreach. Say hello, Dawn.
Hi, everyone. I met a lot of you on your way in. I was trying to greet everybody just so you have a familiar face. I hope to see a lot more of you. I know I'll be up here in the community doing more outreach, trying to keep everybody informed of what's happening at the site in this project.
And Dawn is awesome, you all. And I expect her to do a lot of really wonderful things. So Dawn is helping us out because this project is very important to us. And as the colonels and everyone else who stood up here has said, making sure that you guys understand what is going on at this project is very important to us. And us being as transparent as possible is our primary, as in me and Don's primary mission. That's what we're here for, that's what we're hired for, and that's our job. So that's what you're going to be seeing from me and Don and the rest of my team being Michelle back there, who's been taking all those wonderful pictures, Frank over there, who's been helping check Don in. So you have any questions from us, we're here to help you in any way. And then that's what I had to tell you. And in conclusion, I'm going to turn that back over to the colonels, and would then, after the colonels give their comments, we're going to open it back up for you all to go back to the posters and continue to answer or ask any questions that you all may have, and get all the questions that you have answered. So I'm going to open it back up for the colonels and their closing comments.
Okay, I think, Lyle, I'll speak on our collective behalf. As we close out the presentation portion of the session and we transition out to the posters, and I just want to let you know that we have an absolute team of subject matter experts here who are going to be posted and want to answer your questions and want to clarify anything that you want clarified about the content of this meeting or about any other questions that you might have about this project. We really thank you for this turnout to come and participate in this public meeting. It means a lot to us as we work day in and day out to deliver this project on your behalf. And I just want to circle back to those three priorities that I have, really their commitments that I personally feel to you, the people of this region, as we work this project. You know, first and foremost, safety. Second is transparency, providing you everything that we know when we know it to the maximum extent of our ability. And finally, continuing to build this partnership with this community as we work through addressing and coming to a conclusion of this remediation project, which has been going on for a number of years. So at this time, if I can ask the USACE poster personnel to stand up. Post at your posters. We're going to get them ready, get them positioned so that they'll be ready for you. So as they're moving out, I just want to thank you all again for coming out this evening. It's a beautiful sunny evening. So we're glad you could come out and spend some time with us. And now that we're positioned, I want to thank you, and posters are open and experts are available to answer any and all questions that you have. And we'll be here until the questions are done. So please feel free to come on up, and we look forward to talking with you. Thank you so much for your time this evening.